My name is Enoch. I am 73. When I look in the mirror, I see no old man. I see an imprint, a ghost of the man I used to be. The front glass has faded, as have I. Inside is a faded image with a weathered face, gray hair, eyes that still see, but no one cares anymore. My house is on the outskirts of town, old brick, cracked fence, windows that hum softly with every breeze. The inside is tidy, I clean it every day. Not for guests, they never come. For myself. To remind myself that I still exist. Once this house was alive, children's laughter, the smell of dinner, dirty shoes in the hallway. Now there is only silence. Except that the TV, which I don't turn on to the sound, just flashes pictures. News, reality shows, faces that scream but don't see. Like the people on the street. My children are successful. My son has a consulting firm, my daughter has something to do with investments. They both live in a city I haven't been to in years. They call. Sometimes. But these calls are like a duty. Good afternoon, Dad. How are you? Everything okay? We're busy, we'll call back later. They don't call back. My grandchildren. I'm a stranger to them. We see each other on holidays. They give me books I didn't ask for, and then silently scroll through my phone while I drink my tea. Once I asked my grandson to help me with the phone, he laughed, as if I had to figure out how a new program works on my own. He said it was intuitive. I don't get angry. Not then. In the store, the cashier doesn't hear when I ask about the price. She says something sharp without looking. In the hospital, the doctor looks past me, as if through me. He tells the nurse, register this old man, as if I'm a burden to be gotten rid of. In all their eyes, there's condescension. But, most frighteningly, indifference. I'm not alone. That would be too easy. I'm invisible. Transparent. Weathered from life. As if I never existed. I used to wear a suit and tie. Now I have a blanket on my shoulders. I drink tea without tasting it. I write down the weather, the number of steps, the hours of sleep in a notebook. It's a ritual. It's proof, I still exist. But something has changed. A few days ago, when the doctor said, "This guy doesn't understand anymore," I remembered his name. Clearly. Without emotion. Yesterday, my grandson said to me, "You still don't understand, Grandpa." I smiled. But inside, something has returned. I began to see differently. To notice. To collect. Not just names. Details. Habits. Weaknesses. Theirs. I gave my whole life. Love, protection, money, time, strength. I invested myself in them, like in a bank. And they have long since taken all the interest from me, and closed the account. But they are wrong. I am not the end. I am the beginning. I sit under the window, and through the veil of autumn light I see not a tree, not a yard, but fragments, like frames from an old film. In each, me. But different. Once I entered the premises, and the air changed. People became quieter. More even. Because they knew, I think deeper, I see further. I cannot be broken. I am the one who led. I built a business from nothing. In the 90s, when everything was flying into the abyss, I traded not on fear, but on trust. At a time when others were putting up doors with bars, I put my hand on the shoulder of an employee and said, "I need you." And he worked, not for money, but for faith. I remember that winter when there was no heat. In the house. In the wallet. In the world. We lit the stove with firewood that I chopped until night. My daughter coughed. My son was afraid of the dark. I lied to them that everything was under control, and went to take out a loan with interest rates that were colder than the street. I held on. I held on to my family, my partner, my employees, loans, documents, plans, taxes, courts. And then, their tears, betrayals, losses, everything they couldn't stand. I remember how my partner, a friend from my first year, stole a contract from me and sold the idea to competitors. And I didn't destroy it, although I could have. I just silently left the office, took on a new job, and won. I was like a samurai. Not for battle, but for honor. A strategist. Someone who doesn't raise his voice, because he doesn't need to prove his strength. The children don't remember this. They remember how tired I was. How I fell asleep with papers in my hands. How I screamed when I couldn't hold the burden on my shoulders anymore. But not how many times I lifted them off the ground without asking for thanks. They don't remember how I sold my car so my son could go to another university. They don't remember how I mortgaged my house to save my business after the crisis. They don't remember because it's easier for them to forget. I used to talk and people listened to me. Now I talk to myself. In this chair that creaks every time I bend down to write another memory in a notebook. And in my memory are entire archives. And you know what's the worst thing? It's not that they don't thank me. It's that they think they're better. As if everything they've become is their merit. As if I'm just an old man who doesn't understand anything. I understand more than they can see. I see their weakness. Their fake smiles. Their fatigue from the life I built for them. They built glass towers on my bones and forgot whose sweat poured the foundation. But I remember. I never forget. Dad, I can't right now. Meeting. But this is the third day since, we'll talk later. 222. He didn't even listen to what I said. My son's voice was businesslike, tense, like I was an inconvenient client, not a father holding a list of expired medications. I don't call often. Only when necessary. My daughter doesn't answer the phone at all. She sends voicemails. Short. They have everything, except warmth. Hello, Dad, we're all busy, the grandchildren are back in clubs, everything's fine. Then. That. And silence. My only conversation for the day was with a voice that didn't even wait for an answer. Yesterday I asked my grandson to help me with the banking application. I showed him the phone. He shrugged, sniffed, said, "What are you talking about, grandfather, it's elementary. I don't have time for that." And then he left. He didn't even look up. I didn't even realize that for me this was more than just an add-on. This was the last bridge. To money, to independence, to them. In the hospital, I was sitting under the office. They were admitting others, new, loud, young. I was like a shadow. Then the doctor came out, looked past me, and said to the nurse, "Take this old man away. He doesn't seem to hear." Explained slowly. I heard. I understood. I saw the regret, mixed with fatigue, flicker in her eyes. She wasn't guilty. The guilty light in his eyes was the same as in his son's, in his grandson's, in the passerbys who stepped on my dropped bag of cookies without even stopping. Such moments aren't blows. They're small cuts. Every day. They cut, but they don't kill. What cuts is a glance that passes by. What cuts is silence instead of "thank you." What cuts is a whisper when you're considered weak. But I'm not weak. I'm just silent. I'm not crying. I write. In the same notebook in which I once drew financial charts, planned strategies, drew logistics diagrams. Now I note down dates. Events. Words. Facial expressions. Reactions. October 21st, son. I'm busy. 10/24, granddaughter. Laughter. Appendix. October 27th, doctor. Take this old man away. October 28th, shop. Didn't give change. October 29th, passerby. Didn't pick up. I'm not collecting facts. I'm collecting meanings. This is not accusation. This is a diagnosis. Because I feel that something is coming. Inside me is like a dam. Behind it is not anger, but accumulation. The water is standing. Calm. But heavy. My world is made of paper. They burn it with matches of indifference. But I don't run away. I'm developing schemes. I study people the way I once studied competitors, markets, deals. Everyone has a weak spot. Everyone has an unprotected vein. And you know what? It doesn't hurt anymore. It's energizing. I fell. The grocery bags scattered on the asphalt, the apple rolled down the road. No one helped. Someone walked by. Someone laughed. Go away, no one needs you. No one. No. Needs you. It wasn't the first time I'd heard those words. But this time, something clicked. Not like an offended child. Like a hunter who finally saw a trail. I didn't get angry. I got up. Slowly. Calmly. When I got home, I took off my coat, hung it up neatly. I went to the living room. I sat in my chair. And I didn't watch TV anymore. I looked through the walls. After a while, I looked at myself. Then I got up and went to the safe. It's in an old closet, disguised as a drawer with documents. The combination is old. But my fingers remember. Inside is not money. Not a weapon. What I really owned, archives. Contracts. Photos. Records. Business cards. Contracts. Copies of letters. Keys. An old phone, the one I used to coordinate a company with 30 departments. It still charges. With it, a notebook. With codes. With scripts. With the actions of people who thought I had forgotten. I hadn't forgotten. I was just waiting for the right moment. I used to lead people without raising my voice. They sought my gaze. Now, I see the board again. An empty chessboard. And I remember every piece. I start with those who betrayed me. A former partner is now a political advisor. His skeletons lie in my archives. After him, a son. His company is hanging on by fragile bonds. One call, and the bank will withdraw financing. Then, a doctor. He has 2 diagnoses that he ignored. I kept copies of the tests. My former intern works at his clinic. I've already sent him a message. This isn't revenge. This is balance. I don't seek blood. I create mirrors. I will make sure everyone sees themselves as they are, without embellishment. A son who humiliates his father will lose face in the professional world. A grandson who laughs will be left alone as his reputation cracks. And even random people, like that passerby, will feel the world become alien when someone sees you. For real. This won't be an attack. This will be a game of shadows. And I'm back in the driver's seat. They don't call me Grandpa anymore. Not because respect has returned. It's just that no one knows who exactly is destroying their lives. I'm nowhere. But I'm in everything. It all started with an email. One line, anonymous address. To the auditing firm auditing my son's firm, please note this item, hidden source of funding from related parties. Code, March 17, 97. It wasn't a lie. It was his sin, back in 2011. I warned him then, don't play with these people. He didn't listen. Now the audit, the press, and the first client losses. I watch his hands shake under the camera. He looks tired. In fact, he's falling apart. Then, the grandson. He bragged about his design contract. He posted photos on social media where he disparaged the old school and dinosaur mentoring. I just posted a video, a 9-second fragment where he repeats a racist joke at a party. His laughter is like a knife to his own career. He doesn't know who drained him. The manufacturer breaks the contract. A scandal breaks out at the university. My grandson's face is shocked. He's looking for support. But he gets calls from only journalists. My enemies are used to me being silent. But now, my silence is becoming poison. It spreads like gas in ventilation. Odorless. Colorless. And then, suffocating. The partner who once robbed me. His son works in an anti-corruption structure. I send fragments of internal correspondence from the 90s. Old photocopies. A copy of a transfer to a fictitious company. Everything, anonymously. He's being called for a conversation. The crack has run its course. Just like he did at one time, he let it run through mine. I'm still invisible. But they all feel it. My son is losing sleep. He calls more often. Dad, how are you? I thought, maybe I'll come by. I'm silent. The doorbell rings in the house, long, tense. I look at the screen. And I don't answer. Because I won't be there, silent savior. Not this time. The people I once saved are silently helping me now. The former financial analyst I hired after my heart attack checked my son's connections. The secretary I once paid for my child's treatment is sending me a recording of her conversations with the head doctor. I didn't ask. I just opened my notebook. And I remind the world what debt smells like. This is not war. This is a purge. Like a gardener pruning branches that are parasitic on a tree he once planted. I'm not evil. I'm not an avenger. I'm justice that doesn't need recognition. And more calls. More and more eyes looking for mine. But I don't come out of the shadows. Because only in the shadows can you see who you really are. They gathered at the table, as they hadn't gathered in a long time. Son, daughter, grandchildren. For the first time, without phones, without falsehood, without armor. They sit as if in confession. Each one, with a wound that is not visible, but hurts. I, opposite. A kettle on the stove. The table is clean. On the wall, a clock that once broke, but I deliberately did not fix it. Because time is an illusion when memory keeps count. My son looks at me. His gaze is soft, confused, guilty. Dad. I don't know what happened. Everything is falling apart. I don't answer. My grandson doesn't look up. He's wearing dark clothes, as if for a trial. And my daughter clutches her handkerchief, and I remember how she used to hold on to the hem of my shirt as a child when she was afraid of the dark. Now the darkness is in me. I don't say a word. Because my presence is already a sentence. Because they don't want to hear what I think. They're afraid of it. And they're right. They're finally looking at me, the real me. Not as a shadow, not as the bold one, not as a problem or a duty. But as someone who it would have been better not to betray. And me? I'm not triumphing. I just am. Without the need for gratitude. Without the desire to punish. My revenge is complete. Not in destruction. But in the fact that they've changed. They now see how deeply silent someone they ignored can be. I return to my office. I take out my notebook. The last entry. They see again. I've disappeared again. But now, in my own way. I haven't forgiven. But I haven't destroyed either. Because old age is not the end. It's a different form of power. Quiet. Even. Strategic. True power never screams. I close my diary. And finally turn on the TV with the sound on. Subscribe and like this video, more interesting revenge stories of elderly people coming soon.